Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sitdown. Now, before we get going, let me take a quick break and interject to say it is Father's Day today, and I want to wish both my father and my grandfather, both named Will, very, very happy Father's Day. Love you two so much. And also just a general happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. I really hope you get to enjoy your day with your family and your kids. Out here in Jersey on the East Coast, it is picture perfect. So I can't wait to get out from here and go celebrate with my dad. So a very happy Father's Day to both him and my grandfather. Now, let's get into the good stuff. Of course, we are at the Cinema Sitdown, which means we're talking movies. And today, we are going to find out what happens when you take 8 leading ladies and interject them into one movie, which is interjected into a universe that already exists. And I'll tell you what, you get a pretty fun ride. You know the drill, folks. Pull up a chair, take a seat. Today, of course, I am talking about Ocean's 8. Now, before we get into that movie, for those somehow unfamiliar with the Ocean's universe, there was an original set of movies that were remade with George Clooney and Brad Pitt, Don Cheadle, and the list goes on. There's a lot of them. Ocean's 11, 12, and 13. And in the Danny Ocean world, 3 heist movies with their group as you slowly add in more characters. Now, Ocean's 8 takes place in the same universe. Now, this is a non-spoiler review, but I do got to throw one spoiler out there because it's important to the vibe of the movie and important for where the franchise goes. We find out at the beginning that Danny Ocean has passed. Off-screen, we don't know how it happened, but when it did, Debbie Ocean, played by Sandra Bullock, his sister, is in prison. And essentially our movie is her getting out of prison and then rounding up her group of 7 women. And you're like, 7? Isn't it 8? Yes, it's 7 women in on a heist. The 8th woman in the movie, as is, in tradition with the other Ocean's movies, when we start adding on numbers, usually the mark is our 8th person, which is Anne Hathaway. And she's not even so much the mark as much as she's the Trojan horse to get to the mark. Essentially, once Debbie gets out, she wants to steal a diamond necklace that I believe is in like the Crown Jewels or somewhere in, I want to say it's something like that. But it's like 6 pounds worth of diamonds. And her plan is to find a designer, played by Helena Bonham Carter, who can design something to make someone who's kind of ditzy, but famous, in Anne Hathaway's character. Let's lure her in, make you the designer, you wear her outfit. That'll allow us to get the diamonds out, and then we can swap them and steal them at the Met Gala. So that's our main focus, is the Met Gala, which is a wonderful choice. The look of that is beautiful. From style to clothing, everything that's going on at the Met Gala is great. But that is pretty much the premise of the movie. It is written and directed by Gary Ross, a name that you should all be familiar with. He brought us both Seabiscuit and the first Hunger Games. And here he does a pretty good job and gives you a fairly decent win for another Ocean's entry. But before we get into that, you know how the Seaman likes to roll. I like to start with the bad and end with the good, and this movie does have some faults. And one in particular that I think really is the detriment for me to the movie. The reason that this isn't a slam dunk. And that's that all 8 women in this movie do not pop and shine the way I thought they all should have. Now look, you say, hey, it's hard to juggle that many people. But the George Clooney-led Ocean's movies, our starting base was 11 deep. And then, of course, we grew to 12 and 13 as we added additional characters. And in the original Ocean's remake with George Clooney and that group, everybody pops a little bit. And there are no forgettable faces from the Ocean's 11 movie. And not that there's any forgettable faces here, but there are certainly some characters that you can forget about because they're not really given as much as I think they should have been given, or in that they didn't take what was given to them and elevate it. Now, a couple people do, but for the most part, the problem I have with this movie is it really just felt like it was, okay, here's what I got. Almost like people were showing up for a job. Oh, okay, this is what I got to do today. I'm going to do it. And I'm gonna start by diving into, and again, this isn't necessarily all the fault of the actresses. I think the writing kind of handcuffs some of them, but if you're good enough at what you do, you're able to elevate. And there's one character that does that superbly that we'll talk about in the good. But we're starting with the bad. Let's start with Mindy Kaling. As I said, I like all the women in this movie. I like each of their individual roles. I like the way they all are utilized in the heist. But starting with Mindy Kaling's Amita, who's our diamonds expert, she's kind of going to be the one to spot, make sure everything's good before they piece out on the heist. I like what she brings, but I wanted more. I mean, there's nothing from Mindy Kaling that I can sit here right now and tell you made me laugh out loud. That's a problem. Mindy Kaling is a superb comedy actress. Very easy to make you laugh, even if you don't love shows or things that Mindy Kaling's been in. I would dare you to watch a half hour of her television and not at least crack a smile or a few laughs. And she doesn't bring anything extra to it. And for me, Rush just kind of misses the boat on having that character and utilizing Mindy to her strengths. Same goes for Sarah Paulson. Her character's name is Tammy. She seems to be the one that has the most at stake because she has a full family life. I think she's got 2 kids, a husband. But after that, I really couldn't tell you much about what Tammy does or what she brings. Again, just a very forgettable character from a very unforgettable actress. I mean, Sarah Paulson has had quite the last year or so on the TV side that you bring her here and, again, kind of flat. Which then brings me to 2 very, very crucial characters in the film that, again, I think are kind of underserved and don't elevate the characters to a level that maybe they could have to save what wasn't there. And that's Rihanna and Helena Bonham Carter. We'll start with Rihanna, and both women, look, I mean, it goes without saying, right? Helena Bonham Carter has one of the most unique styles in all of Hollywood, and both her and Rihanna bring a lot of style to this flick. Their looks are really cool. The way they approach, Bonham Carter, really, really good at being kind of quirky, and Rihanna, for me, myself, I'm not a personal fan of her in the acting world, but she pulls this role off. I thought she played Nineball, which is her character's nickname. I thought she played Nineball really, really well, but again, just wasn't anything to the role that popped or shined, which is disappointing because she's critical and she's your hacker computer whiz, and 90% of what happens technologically in the movie can't happen without Rihanna. Likewise, with Helena Bonham Carter, who is, the designer, and she nails that role, right? That quirkiness to her is perfect for that character. But again, nothing that really shines. I mean, she has a couple on-screen instances, obviously, with Anne Hathaway, who she's designing the outfit for. And again, it doesn't pop, and that's disappointing because I love Helena Bonham Carter. And I saw some really good stuff from Rihanna that I would have liked to have seen elevated. Now, these are kind of your minor, if you're going to break down the group of the Oceans team, I guess those are your more minor characters. But Cate Blanchett's Lou is a major character, and I got to the end of the movie and went, where was Cate Blanchett in this flick? She disappears, and there were rumors that in an original draft, or, an original cut, there were hints possibly to a previous relationship between Cate Blanchett's Lou and Sandra Bullock's Debbie. And when I read that after seeing the movie, I was like, oh yeah, okay, they must have done some serious cutting. Like, if there was stuff with that relationship, the stuff that landed on the cutting room floor, probably where a lot of Cate Blanchett might have been. Now, both Cate Blanchett and Sandra Bullock have come out within the last couple days to respond to the, are your characters lesbians? And or did they have a lesbian relationship at some point? And both have come out and said no. They've also both come out and said, look, that doesn't mean that they can't go there, but going in from where we are right now in this movie, there is no pre-relationship between them. Now, I don't know if that's, is just the written response they have to give, or if it's the truth. Either way, the first thing that pops in this movie, that really pops, is Cate Blanchett. When she shows up, I mean, the style on Cate Blanchett is amazing. She's come out and said there's a lot of masculine style to Lou, and she's always in a suit. and they are all spectacular. Everything about the look of Cate Blanchett in this flick is spectacular. From her eyeliner to her general makeup, her hair. When she's on screen, she pops just by standing there, which drove me nuts that she kind of disappears in the movie, and that there wasn't more for her and Sandra Bullock to play with each other. Because like I said, their chemistry oozes in this movie when they're on screen together, which made the rumors seem kind of founded, because it was like, oh yeah, man, you could see that they must be playing that way. Now, whatever it is, again, I don't know how you let someone the caliber of actress as Cate Blanchett, whose style steals the movie, end up in a spot where she kind of disappears. Super, super upsetting for me. I'm a huge Cate Blanchett fan. For those that have seen my Thor Ragnarok review, you know I loved her as Hela. And I wanted to love her as Lou, man, but unlike Brad Pitt, who, you know, and granted, she's more of one of the people pulling the strings in the movie, so she can kind of fall to the back where she's not out front. Brad Pitt's character the same way, but I felt like we never lose him. Now, that's really my big issue, is that you couldn't make everybody shine as much as the characters I'm about to talk about shine. And for the Ocean's world, that's one of the things that works the best in these movies, is that everybody gets a little pop. And if you can do that, if we move forward and we do an Ocean's 10, or we get back to another Ocean's 9 or a 10, you have to make them all shine. And the heist, like I said, is one of those spots where you get a little bit of it, but not enough for me. You know, and that's really the biggest detriment to the movie. It's where it fails, I think, the most. Now, just because that seems like a good portion of the movie does not mean the flick is bad. There is certainly some really good stuff, and they nailed the things they had to nail. They nailed the opening of this movie, they nailed the ending of this movie, and they nailed the heist in this movie. Look, the opening, you know, I love the opening. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little scatterbrained, but the opening of the movie, brilliant, right? It's what hooks you right away, and that brings us to Sandra Bullock's Debbie Ocean, who I thought was phenomenal. Very much like Cate Blanchett, very on point stylistically, from the makeup to the wardrobe. Everything I thought was working for Sandra Bullock, and she owns this role, and she owns it with that opening sequence. We meet her in prison as she's getting out, and then she kind of has to stop at a Duane Reade Rite Aid styled store, and what we get in that stretch, you're just like, oh yes, let's go, I'm ready. Brilliant. I would have loved to have gotten more of that throughout the film. But that being said, the heist is wonderful. Sandra Bullock does a really, really good job of leading this team. She just has this just coolness to her, very similar to Danny. You can totally get the vibe that they're brother and sister. She's very smart. And all of those things work really, really well. I love her motivations. I love her story. And like I said, the chemistry between her and Cate Blanchett, for me, is one of the highlights of the film. I want to see more of it. Just more. Give me more. But I do think that she does the Ocean name proud, and when we get to the actual heist, the heist in this movie is great. Really, everybody is operating at a high level. The camera, from the camera work and the directing and the technical stuff to the acting and to what the actual heist is and the way it actually plays out, all plays out wonderfully. But the thing that really wins in this movie for me is the Ocean's twist. That was the big one, right? If I call it the Ocean's twist, it's the second heist. It's the real heist in the movie. Both in all of the other Oceans, 11, 12, 13. When we're watching those movies, we're seeing one heist, and we know something else is really going on, but we get so wrapped into how good the heist is that when they drop the mic and go, oh yeah, this is what we really stole, you go, wow. And that cut back to seeing what was really happening always worked really well. This movie nails that. You were so caught up into the heist, and choosing the Met Gala, brilliant, because that just attracts your eye to all sorts of things, and you get caught up in the heist. And in getting caught up in the heist, you do forget that there's a second one coming, and the twist to the second heist is great. Absolutely love that, and I love, like I said, the ending of the film, which for me was big, because so often, you know, where you have like women leading the way in like a robbery or something, there's usually a maternal or a family thing driving them, and for these women that does not exist. They are all out there for themselves. That, you know, I mean, maybe Tammy, you know, is like, oh, okay, I can, but at the end of the line, she's just, you know, Sarah Paulson's character is established. She's grounded, and she leaves that to get in on a little action of her own. And I love that all of the women, that's their motivating factors. I'm looking out for me. And so it's so easy to get caught up into the tropes of women playing male equivalents and not, you know, delivering the way that the men are, right? The Ocean's 11, you know, those movies, yeah, those guys are out for one thing only. That's money. And I love that the women are also looking out for themselves and just after the money. Now, with that being said, there are some other women we have not talked about that are also brilliant in this movie. And for me, the person who stole the whole movie, Awkwafina, who plays Constance. Oh my God, she's brilliant! Look, this is where I was talking with the other ones, that you get very little, but there's ways in which taking very little, you can make it a lot. And that's exactly what Awkwafina does. The very little screen time she has, she makes sure she steals every single scene. She interjects all sorts of energy, all sorts of humor, and I think a lot of that is just her. And if you could have gotten that from everybody, oh man, I think everyone could have shined. Because look, you want to say that it's the material and the amount of material, but Awkwafina just crushes it, man. You know, and she commands your attention every time she's on screen, and she, for me, just breathes so much life where I needed it in the movie, where I wasn't getting it from some other actresses. Another person who also does that, James Corden. Oh man, came out left field. Didn't know he was in the movie. He plays the like insurance agent that shows up after the jewels have been stolen. And good God, man, he comes into a movie that he thinks is a comedy and nails it. And that's one of the other things too that was kind of a downer with this one, is that the Ocean's movies have always been solid, you know, blending in their humor. And, you know, Awkwafina injects a bunch of it, but James Corden injects a ton of it. He just makes you smile. The minute he walks on screen, he brings all the comedy that this movie was missing. And I wanted to follow around John Fraser more. I really hope that if we do get to an Ocean's 9 or 10, James Corden can somehow be looped back in some way for something else that's been stolen, because he's brilliant. And then it's really this one almost kind of surprised me. Anne Hathaway is brilliant in this flick, man. She just bought into the character and said, "I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna just go all in and I'm gonna do it." And the character in and of itself is almost kind of a caricature of the way people talk about Anne Hathaway. And she buys into it and owns it, man. She is having so much freaking fun in this movie. You know, every time she's on screen, something good is happening. I was really, really impressed with Anne Hathaway. I'm very surprised that she was one that popped the way in which she did. I was seeing Anne Hathaway getting old kind of quick, and she doesn't, man. Like I said, she kind of plays into the stereotypical characteristics that people, you know, talk about her as, and she nails it. And then there's a twist to her character that I absolutely love, and I can't wait if there are more movies to see where that character goes and how she kind of fits in to this world, because awesome. You know, one of the best moments of the movie stolen by Anne Hathaway. So yeah, that's where it is, man. And ultimately, this movie wasn't a humongous home run, but it sure did enough things for me to go, I would check out a sequel. I'm buying in to this Ocean's group. Just make everybody shine a little more, make it pop a little more. You know, I was kind of disappointed in Gary Ross, because, you know, he obviously knows how to make leading women shine. I just asked Jennifer Lawrence. I wish he could have done it for everybody in this group, because I think it's a very good mixture of women and different kinds of actresses. Exactly what you need in an Ocean's movie. Just make it pop a little more. But the stuff they needed to nail, you know, the oceans stuff, they nail that. And for me, that makes the movie a win. So that's all I got to say. I am tapped out. I've run out of all of my thoughts. Please let me know yours. If you've seen the movie, if you haven't seen the movie, let me know what you thought. What you think about going to see it. Have I enticed you? Do you want to check it out? Are you an Oceans fan? Put all those things down in the comments below. And as always, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button and the little bell so you get alerts every time the Seaman makes a new video. For the Seaman Cinema Sit Down, I am the Seaman, and I am signing off. Happy Father's Day, everybody!